Got another new project here. Customer just dropped this thing off. It's one of those Chinese scooters. Looks like a pretty decent one. 150cc 4-stroke. Not quite sure on the manufacturer of it. Apparently it's a barn find, as you can see. Hasn't been registered since 2009. Thought I'd pressure wash it quick because it just stinks like mouse piss. I did take the air cleaner box cover off, and surprisingly there's no mouse nest in there. So I don't know if there's a mouse nest somewhere, but it sure smells terrible. So I thought I would pressure wash it here quick before I bring it into the garage and stink up the garage. Stay tuned. Just wanted to do a quick wrap-up video of the scooter project. I didn't do any recording of the repairs to it. I had a bunch of stuff going on in the middle, and whenever I got a few minutes to work on it, I just dove right in and got some stuff done. Officially nicknamed it the COVID-19 scooter, since it comes from China. Still got some tools over there to clean up from when I was working on it. What a project. So the starter went bad. One of the bushings in the end of the starter shaft allowed for a little bit too much play and wore all the teeth off the starter gear. So I had to buy a new starter. Somewhat difficult to find when you're searching for this model number here. I took the little plastic plate off here for the VIN tag, and was still having a hard time, and then stumbled upon a call it a model or a type called GY6. Using the term GY6, I was able to find parts a lot easier for this, just having made sure that I specified 150cc. I was able to find a starter, I think it was on Amazon, for like $18. And I had to get that starter on the way to continue working on it. It does have a kickstart down here, but doesn't work for shit at all. I don't know if there's something wrong with the gear on the inside of that case there, but I wasn't going to bother with that too much with the customer's budget to get this thing going. Another interesting thing that I found was the grounding cable that went from the battery to the engine was hooked up to one of the studs for the intake manifold. You can't really see it down in there, sorry. But yeah, the engine was grounded out to the battery through the intake manifold stud, which, think of the resistance created by that going through bolts, the head going to the engine block through a head gasket. So that's that wire down in here. I just ended up cutting the end off of it, splicing in a couple of extra wires just to make sure it had was able to carry the amperage, and moving it back to there seems like it really helped a lot. There's a little shot of the new starter in there. Learned my lesson with these carburetors. I probably had the carburetor off 3 or 4 times, doing different cleanings on it, and it still didn't run very well. I had to keep a couple fingers over the snout of the carburetor, choking it a little bit just to keep it idling, and at that time it wouldn't accelerate at all. So swallowed my pride on that one and ended up ordering a new carburetor using that GY6 150cc keyword on eBay. keeping a mental note of what the carburetor looked like compared to the picture in the listing, making sure it matched up, and threw it on there. It did not have a fuel filter. There was a fuel filter that came with the carburetor, so I thought that was a good thing to have on there to keep crap out of that float bowl. Those jets are super small in there and wouldn't take much to plug it up. And with the new carburetor, it runs great. He did not have a key for it. Going back to that 10-year-old barn find, who knows where the key ended up. But he did have a key that physically fit in the hole here, but it would not turn it. So I took the tumbler apart, and I was able to get a couple of the little brass movements in there to line up. So this key does turn it now, and you're not able to turn it with a screwdriver, but that does work now. Gas gauge works, tach works, all the lights work. The speedometer is a good 10 miles an hour off. I was doing 40 on the speedo here, and the GPS speedo app I put on my phone said I was doing 30. So like I said, a good 10 miles an hour off. I did have to buy a battery for it. The one that was in it was shot. Just a sealed lead acid motorcycle type battery. I think it was a 6 amp hour maybe. That was $50 some from O'Reilly's. One of the bolts was missing for the muffler, rattling around like crazy. So I was able to go through some spare parts from doing engine swaps on cars and stuff, and the first one I grabbed fit right in there. So that was pretty lucky. There was a massive mouse nest under the back seat, like I said in the first half of the video. Really stunk. It still stinks a little bit, but really stunk. So I power washed the whole thing, brought it in the garage, and it continued to reek up my garage, and could not find any signs of the smell whatsoever. And then I ended up looking back in this area, trying to see if there was some wire damage from mice, and I happened to see the mouse hanging, or the mouse nest hanging out back there. But all in all, she is done, drives down the road decently. If you are over 6 feet tall, I would not recommend trying to drive one of these. My knees were sticking way out just to sit on it. The tires, the rims must have some bead corrosion, or the tires must be weather checked or cracked or something, because they do not hold air for more than a day or two. So I'm not sure what he's going to do about that, but I'm not going to do anything about it. But all in all, fun little project here. Kind of fun to see one of these and work on one. Really fairly simple when it comes down to it. Crazy because it does have a little carbon canister up in here too. You can't really see it. I suppose they had to do that for emissions, importing it into the United States or something. Brakes worked good, and I think that's about it. If you have any questions on these scooters, I'll do my best to answer them. And I gotta clean up my mess over there from working on this thing. But thanks for watching.